Welcome to the GCN Racing News Show. Yep, yeah, I'm back folks, back from the garden, back from holidays. Even got a haircut, bought some trimmers online. No one seemed to notice anyway, but yeah, just thought I'd point that one out. Stacey cut it, I think she's done a good job, if you ask me. Anyway, on with the news. And we had quite a lot of news last week actually. We had Rigoberto Uran back out on the road, practicing his victory celebrations and looking pretty good, if you ask me. We also had more Everesting attempts. I mean, pro riders just don't know when to stop, do they? And no race, no problem. Pro riders just seem to be making up their own courses and races as they go. And also we had the potential announcement of a charter flight from Colombia full of, well, top-notch cycling talent. More on that later. Well, first up, we're going to start with the news which you probably already know. Us roadies, well, we don't have the best skills when we get on our mountain bike. Ella Baxted discovered that mountain biking can be rather tricky the hard way. Unfortunately, she crashed in a training incident and fractured her tibia. The Trek Segafredo rider had to spend the night in hospital and was lucky to be discharged the next day and will be awaiting a decision by a specialist on whether she needs to undergo surgery later in the week. We wish her all the best and really hope she makes a speedy recovery. It's never nice having an accident, especially when you're out training. Another rider who's come a cropper is Arnaud Démare. The ex-Milan-San Remo winner has fractured his left scaphoid in an accident 2 weeks ago on his mountain bike. He went under surgery a few days ago and took to Facebook to say that he was recovering well and was getting back to training. And he also thinks he'll be able to make a full recovery and get back to racing in time for the resumption of the race calendar in early August. Well, we wish them both all the best and maybe leave the mountain biking skills up to Jolanda Neff in future. We also had the news of Tom Dumoulin choosing to leave the MPCC, which is the Movement for Credible Cycling. Speaking to Dutch website Wielerfleets, Tom described the running of Paris-Nice as a farce, citing that it shouldn't have been run in the midst of a public health emergency. The MPCC is there to safeguard the credibility of cycling, and it didn't sit well that this race was run when a public health emergency was beginning to unfold in France. Also, Tom cited the advice that the MPCC says you shouldn't use ketones in competition. Now, Tom's team, Jumbo-Visma, have freely admitted to using ketones in competition, which they are perfectly entitled to do so. Ketones are legal and permitted in sport. So this move will come as quite a blow to the MPCC, which works really hard to reinforce the message of anti-doping within the sport in recent years. However, I guess you can't fault Tom's honesty and also the fact that he doesn't want to be hypocritical in his actions. Now, following on from that story we reported on last week of Colombian riders seeking special permission to return to Europe to race, well, they've turned things up a notch. The Colombian Cycling Federation is seeking to charter a jet containing all of Colombia's cycling talent just to get them back to Europe so they can race in time for the newly revised calendar. I mean, that plane is going to have some talent on it, isn't it? And who's going to get first class? How's that decision going to get made? Would it be Bernal just sitting up there being like, right guys, back to the back of the plane. No, Uran, I'm looking at you back there. Will he just be bossing it? Will he be in charge? I mean, he could be up there with a pilot. I think that's what you should get if you're the yellow jersey. You know, that's it. You have your booth in the special charter flight back to the 2020 race season. Maybe they could get Uran to do karaoke. Imagine that at the front, in-flight entertainment. I think he'd be good at it. Although maybe they might send him, maybe the charter flight home, he might be on his own plane. But I think we should have a special sector on this show about Uran's latest endeavours. The man's a genius, if you ask me. And lucky for him, he's been back on the roads of Colombia for the first time last week. And guess what? Well, he's been practicing his victory celebrations already. He's that confident. He's going to be on that charter flight into Europe and he's celebrating straight away and he's got it nailed, to be honest. It's a great celebration if you ask me. So if you ask me, I think he's going to be good form this season coming. So watch out. Right, next up, Everesting. And this seems to be the thing in lockdown. Everyone's just gone Everesting crazy. Every time I go on Twitter, there's a new person trying to do an Everesting record. I mean, it's great, I love it. But I think people have just gone a little bit bonkers. Maybe I should try it, but nah. I shouldn't say that on camera actually, Si will start getting on to me. I could do an Everesting descending record, that'd be good. That's what I'm suited to, I think. Everesting descending in a tailwind is my thing. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Emanuel Bookman, the German rider for Bora Hansgrohe, is the next pro rider to attempt Everesting. And you know what? I think he could take the record. He's a pure climber, he's a current pro, and he's on top form this year. He could really put that record out of reach of a few riders, I think. Could stand for a while. Will he beat the record set by Keegan Swinson? He's set 7 hours 40 minutes to Everest. That's climb 8,848 meters. 8,848 meters in 7 hours 40. That is good going. I mean, Emanuel will be going well to do that. And I've just got an update here because he's currently doing it as I'm presenting this now. He's done 4,987 meters at the moment in 4 hours 10. His team's just put an update out. So it's on track, I think. It's gonna be close though, but I'd say he'll do it. We'll give you an update. I'll give you an update when he's done. And Emanuel isn't the only one that's been at it last week. They're just all at it, aren't they? I told you, everyone's Everesting. So the women's Everesting record has now been absolutely smashed by 2.5 hours actually. American cyclist Katie Hall, who rides for Bulls Dolmans, managed to Everest in 10 hours and 1 minute up the Bonnie Doon climb in Santa Cruz, California. And she went up the climb 27 times in a row, 27 times. Hurts my legs just thinking about that. I mean, it's a tough ask, isn't it, Everesting? I think it's the fact that you're going up the same climb, up and down, up and down, up and down, that it must be tough on the head. But fair play, Katie, that is an astounding effort, and I wouldn't have been able to finish that, let alone do it in 10 hours. Okay, folks, and a quick update on that Emanuel Bookman Everesting attempt. And well, he's got the record. Oh, he's done it, just as I thought he would. However, oh no. Oh, folks, there's controversy, okay? So he did his Everesting attempt in 7 hours, 28 minutes, which is whoppingly quick, to be honest. But, okay, there's a bit of a clause in the Everesting attempts. So Andy van Breggen, who oversees all these Everesting records from Hell's 500, has ruled that the record does not stand for 2 reasons. So the 7 hours 28 is Bookman's moving time. And if you want to get an Everesting record, it has to be the elapsed time. So that would include all your stops on the roadside, toilet breaks, or refueling stops, which you'd potentially recover throughout. And also, Bookman, well, he did his first ascent of his chosen climb on one side, then he descended down the other side, then he did all his other ascents on the other side of the mountain. So it's a technicality, but if you are going to get an Everesting record, you need to do it on the same side of a climb. So, unfortunately for Bookman, it's not a record. His elapsed time is actually 7 hours 51 minutes. So it's just outside that of Keegan Swinson's. So Keegan Swinson is still the record holder. Finally now, I know we're used to races being cancelled at the moment, but it seems that one race in particular has got riders, well, really misty-eyed. And it's not a one-day monument or a grand tour. Oh no. It's the Dirty Kanza, a 200-mile-long ultra-endurance race across the Flint Hills of Kansas has been postponed until September. But this hasn't dampened the spirits of a few riders that were due to take part. American national champion Alex Howes has decided to do his own Dirty Kanza, riding from his hometown in Boulder all the way to the state line of Kansas, mostly on gravel roads in the spirit of Dirty Kansas. And perhaps even more impressive is the fact that he managed to persuade his wife to drive to the finish of it all, pick him up and take him home. So fair play on both of those, Alex. Trek Segafredo also got in on the action. Carl Rylan and Taylor Wiles and Quinn Simmons, remember him, the junior world champion in 2019 in Yorkshire. They all went off on their own Dirty Kanza adventures, solo rides in their own respective areas. And Lawrence ten Dam nicknamed the whole thing Dirty Kanzelled. See what you did there, Lawrence? That's good, I wouldn't have thought of that, to be fair, I wouldn't have thought of that. And also, Wout van Aert gave it a go, riding 320 kilometres on mostly gravel roads near his house in Belgium. So I think fair play to Lawrence ten Dam for inspiring so many riders to get out there and ride so much gravel over the last week as a tribute to Dirty Kanza. Dirty Kanzelled, what a concept. So fair play, Lawrence. And Van Aert also said he'd love to take part in the real thing one day, which, wow, that would be a very interesting prospect indeed. And I mean, it's just throwing up some amazing routes, isn't it? I wish I could have joined all these riders on them. Can't wait until I can travel again and get in on the action either. At the moment in Ireland, where I am now, I'm still rather restricted in my movements on the bike. I can't go further than 5 kilometers from home. Otherwise, I'd have definitely tried to recreate some sort of Dirty Kanza route near me. And I think I've got a few ideas, so hopefully I can share them with you when this is all over. But it did get me thinking. So if you could recreate the steps, retake the steps of any race on the calendar, what would it be? Where would be your ideal race to go off and ride the route of? And I think the key point here is you're riding it solo. You're not in a group, so you're on your own and you can kind of take in the scenery and the mountains. You don't have to suffer with someone else. You don't have to be half-wheeled up a mountain. And that changes things, doesn't it? Because if it was a really mountainous route, you'd probably not want to do it in a group. You'd be suffering a bit too much. So on that note, I think I've decided to choose the Vuelta Costa Rica. You might not have heard of it. It's a lesser known UCI race, but it goes up the Cerro de la Muerta, which is, get this, a 62-kilometer climb, topping out at around 3,300 meters altitude. And they go up this twice in the race. But it's a beautiful country, Costa Rica, with lush rainforest. You have the Pacific Sea, the Caribbean Sea. So I think it's ticking all the boxes really for a race recreation route. So that's my pick. And by the way, that Cerro de la Muerta, that translates in English to Mountain of Death. So that just gives you some sort of peek into how hard that climb is. But I'd love to ride it, even if we're masochists, aren't we, as cyclists, but it sounds like an epic climb. 62 kilometers of climbing. Wow, that's a lot. But anyway, it's got me thinking. I'm gonna put it to you guys, okay? And I'm gonna narrow down the races that you can pick from because we'll have a bit of a free-for-all if it's every race on the calendar. So for next week's poll, I'm gonna ask you, which monument would you rather ride if you were doing it on your own? Okay, and so you've got the 5 monuments: Paris-Roubaix, Tour of Flanders, Milan-San Remo, Giro de Lombardia, and Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Nearly got that one at the end. And I'll tell you what I'd go for. My pick would be Milan-San Remo. And do you know why? Because firstly, you have all the Italian cycling heritage. You're starting in Milan. So first off, you've got that start there. You have a nice coffee, nice breakfast. You're gonna set off on those lovely cobbled streets of Milan. Don't crash in the neutral section. Many people often do, it's a thing. I remember when I did it, the DS was like, whatever you do, don't crash in the neutral section. Someone always does. And sure enough, someone crashed in the neutral section. There's lots of tram lines, basically. You've got tram lines and cobbles, so it's always going to be difficult. Anyway, forget about that. Don't crash when you're leaving Milan. But then you've got that nice flat run out from Milan to the coastline, and it's easy enough, and the climb isn't too difficult. It's a nice rolling one, lovely scenery. Come down onto the coast, you have that run into the Cipressa. You might stop for a crostata and another cappuccino on the sea, take it easy. You've got no one pushing you along, so there's no pressure. Then you have the Cipressa, the Poggio, nice glamorous finish in San Remo, massive pizza to finish things off. Oh yeah, I'd go for Milan-San Remo. But I'm interested to see what you guys think in this poll, so get voting on the GCN app and we'll check in next week, see what the results are. Right, on to last week's poll now, and we asked you guys, should there be a salary cap in professional cycling? And well, it was a close call actually, with 41% of you saying yes, there should be a salary cap, and 58% of you said no, there shouldn't be a salary cap. So the overall majority of 58% takes the poll and says there shouldn't be any salary caps in professional cycling. And actually, I tend to agree. I think first, we need to have a raised minimum wage for all riders in any team, for men and women. And also, I think we need to raise the number of riders in each squad so that riders aren't being over-raced. Then after that, those requirements are met, then teams can go on and give the big salaries, but first they have to meet those initial requirements. I'm going down a bit of a rabbit warren now, but I think if we do make those steps possible, then it will lead to a fairer sport. And I could talk all day about all that, but I think that's another topic of discussion. But that's my thoughts anyway. Right, everyone, that's it for this week's show. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to head over to the GCN app and get voting on that poll. Which monument would you rather ride on your own? I'm looking forward to seeing the results of that one, actually. Oh, I don't think I'll change my opinion for Milan San Remo, though. I think it's got to be a firm Milan San Remo. Giro de Lombardia, though, that could take it, I think. I might be surprised. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. See you soon and stay safe out there.